Hey, how's it going? Welcome to a special episode of The Pink Room with Rocky, a podcast normally all about anything and sometimes about nothing, but tonight we have a very special episode inspired by the events of my life, a special episode about love and relationships. In the next minutes of the podcast, we're going to explore the various and sundry going-ons of relationships. Now, a full reminder about the podcast. As always, the disclaimer is that this is all made up. This isn't real advice. This isn't real situations. Any of the names used on this podcast are merely coincidental if they match those in real life. Any of the events, anything that transpires, settings, locations, businesses, really anything mentioned that may resemble facts, even if you've seen it in the news, even if you saw it with your own eyes, it is purely coincidence. There's absolutely, positively, for legal reasons, no truth to anything that's said on this podcast. So, as we get into the story of love and relationships. So tonight is the first night that I'll just let you know, at the same time the podcast is being recorded, I'm also running a live. I do that on my TikTok. Sometimes it's on Instagram, and normally the time is announced in the story of my TikTok. You can look that up by Googling Rocky Perry TikTok, and you'll find me right away. But I do this so that while I'm doing some recording, I can get a little feedback and make sure that all the little interesting nooks and crannies of this love and relationship story bear out, because sometimes I lose track of exactly where I am. I, of course, claim to be the worst expert, but an expert on love and relationships on the internet, right? So I'm the last person that you should ask advice from, but if you're going to ask advice and there's no one else, I'm definitely the bottom of that list, okay? I will give you advice on anything. You just have to preface it with, I don't mind if it's bad advice. So, I wanted to share how I came about being an expert on love and relationships. So I became an expert on relationships when I had an epiphany at 28 or 29, and I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, my 20s are almost over. I need to hurry up and find a family and get married, right? I need to get with it. And at the time, I was dating a young woman who was probably bad for my health, both mentally and physically. We were a dynamic duo of drinking destruction and debauchery in Chattanooga, Tennessee, running the bars from 10 p.m. to 3 in the morning. When suddenly in walks this little 5'1" cutie. Short bob hair, just a gorgeous, petite, buck-toothed little thing, and comes up to the bar. And of course, being the gentleman that I am, the first thing I noticed was her fine rear end. I was like, holy moly, look at the booty on that girl. And I thought, well, I got to talk to her, right? And she turned around and she noticed immediately that I was wearing a T-shirt of her favorite band, the Counting Crows, right? It's almost as though it was fate. Now, what she didn't know was that earlier that day I'd run out of clothes and stolen the Counting Crow T-shirt from one of my friends. I'd never really seen the band live and only heard them a few times. They were definitely in my top 100 bands, but it certainly wasn't one of my favorite. But that night when she said, I love the Counting Crows, I replied, me too, they're my favorite band. And the rest is history. I began dating this woman. She was only available every other weekend because she had a kid the rest of the time. And slowly but surely, over a period of 2 or 3 months, I sort of developed a little crush on her, to which blossomed into me asking her to marry her on Christmas Day. And let me tell you, I am a firm believer that one of the few things I did right in that entire situation was a short dating period, right? I can tell you as a man, generally the time it takes us to figure out if you are the one, if you are someone we could marry, if you're someone we want to be in a long-term relationship with, it always takes somewhere between 2 and 6 minutes. Okay? That's how long it takes us. 2 and 6 minutes. Not 2 weeks. It doesn't take us 2 months. It doesn't take us 6 months. Between about 2 and 6 minutes, we know if this is a woman we want to marry or be in a long-term committed relationship with. Okay? Now, in my experience, and again, I'm speaking out of turn because I'm not a woman, in my experience, the time it takes a woman to make this decision is a bit lengthier. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer than 2 to 6 minutes. But with men, I assure you, that's how long it takes. And that's why you got to worry about those long-term dating situations. You date a man for more than 6 months? You definitely date a man more than a year? No. Listen. No. And let me tell you, one of my viewers just said 2 to 6 minutes sounds familiar. Yeah, there's definitely a correlation between 2 to 6 minutes and several activities having to do with finding your soulmate. Okay? That's just the way it goes. That's a good sign in the beginning. Trust me. With women, it just takes a little longer, right? And you could say it's trust issues, you should say it's this, but listen, we just operate differently, right? Women are doing some calculating. And one of the calculations they're making is, can this man meet all of my needs, obligations, and expectations? And that's why it takes them a long time. They've got to fill out, well, can this man provide this for me? Can this man do this? Can I expect him to behave in this way? Is he going to handle this? And there's this testing and this prodding and this exploration of what their relationship could be until they finally come to the decision. Men, on the other hand, and we get compared to dogs a lot, but any dumb animal will work. Men, on the other hand, don't generally have these expectations. All they want to know is, does this person like me? Is this person going to be there for me? Is this person going to be a cheerleader for me? And will they let me love them? Will they let me love them? We are a dumb puppy dog that comes out with our tongue open and our tail wagging, and all we want is for someone to pet us and go, oh, they're good. They're going to like us. I'm going to love this person forever. And we don't come to it with expectations. We don't really do a lot of prodding. We do a little poking, if you know what I mean. But we don't do a deep dive exploration of what's going on. And a lot of times that ends up biting us in the rear end, right? Now, that being said, on the same token, a woman who is with the wrong man has gotten with someone who is not going to meet all their needs, expectations, and provide for them the way they want to. And sometimes that's a result of not exploring them enough, right? Not looking into them enough. So it goes both ways. There's not a right or a wrong. Men and women are just completely different when it comes to these things. So anyways, back to the beautiful bottomed woman that I ended up marrying. And let me just tell you, the best and most glorious time in my life, my some 40-some years on this planet, was really the first 5 or 6 years of my marriage, right? We were a great team. Everything was great. It was golden. It was a lengthy honeymoon period that lasted for years and years. We had children together. We had amazing holidays and vacations and all these things. And that extended past the 6 years. We really did have some good times and good years. And it went the way it was. And somewhere around year 6 or 7, and I don't want to dive into too many details. I certainly will take my lump share of the blame of our relationship heading south. The woman fell out of love with me, okay? And let me tell you, I'm a firm believer. I have people argue with me all the time, but I'm a firm believer that when a woman is falling out of love with you, it is about 1 in a million that she's going to fall back in love with you, right? It's over. Men operate a little differently. Men, on the other hand, it is also over when it's over, but it takes us a much longer time to get there, okay? And that's mostly because our expectations aren't being broken. It's our heart, right? With a woman, there can be little things that chip away, right? Oh, he doesn't do that anymore. Oh, he started doing this. Oh, no, he did that. And I kind of equate it to the Christmas tree syndrome, right? At the top of the tree is a star, and that star is, I need to get rid of this man, and I can't stand him, and I don't love him. And you can kind of ignore that. There's no ornaments on the tree. Everything's going okay. But then you kind of screw up. You forget to take the trash out. There's going to be a little ornament on the tree, and then you look up to the star. And what happens is you just start collecting ornaments, and the ornaments never come off the tree. They never come off the tree. So every time anything happens, it becomes about everything, right? And you're collecting all these ornaments. He didn't meet my expectation. He didn't, fulfill this obligation. He's not the person he used to be. And that's okay. For women, that's what it is. It's this collection of ornaments, and eventually you get a full Christmas tree, and it's time to move to the next blank Christmas tree. And you just go, you know what? I'm done with this Christmas tree. I'm ready to move on. Men on the other hand, it's not a Christmas tree at all, right? For us, it's a palm tree. There's branches at the top. We love the coconuts. You know us guys, we love the coconuts. So we'll eat coconuts. We'll climb that tree and eat coconuts no matter how tall it grows, no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how old we are, or anything else. We just love the coconuts on that tree, right? But there comes a point where if there's no coconuts at all for you, right, the man's going to climb another coconut tree. And at times, he won't even climb the new coconut tree until he sits at the bottom of the tree so long that the tree just falls over dead, right? Once it is over, it is over. And sometimes a man just has to wait till the age happens on that tree, till the full brunt of the end of the relationship happens, right? And because a woman has been keeping score for a long time, a lot of times in their mind, the relationship ends long before it ends for the man. The man's normally blindsided because he's a stupid dog and he's showing up and he just loves you to death. And, even if he's not doing a good job, he's just still going to try, right? So there's always a timing problem. And again, it's nobody's fault. There's just differences between men and women. So like most of those things, as my marriage came to an end, my wife had filled her Christmas tree and was ready to go and let me know. She was a good communicator about that. She was done. She was ready. And that's when I learned the hard lesson that you can't make anybody love you. Okay? You mark that down. You can't make anybody love you. And once someone doesn't love you, I've never seen it happen where you get them back. So that kind of happens, and then it ends. And of course, like most men, you're heartbroken and you're just tore up. But you got to get over it, right? And especially if you've got children, right? That's my number one lesson for relationships. Is when it's over, if you have children, your priority becomes your children, right? You have to maintain some level of civility. You never, ever, ever need to say anything negative around your kids or to your kids about your former spouse. You need to continue to be the best parent you can possibly be. If your kids are going to spend more time with you or with the other person, that person should make a vested effort to find a new partner that can be a role model in their life. Because unless kids are split 50-50 down the road, whoever they're with most, they need a model of what they need to be as a man or a woman, whether they are a boy or a girl, right? So those become the priorities. And I was very lucky. In a way, my boy's mother, they did their we did our very best to raise them separately, right? And even when we went through several years of absolutely, positively not speaking to each other at all, we maintained that, and we did a good job raising them. And let me just tell you, since my diagnosis, that woman has been wonderful to me. I have had true pretend friends, and even people I've been in relationships with that have been pure evil to me and completely turned on me. But this woman has managed to maintain civility and concern, and we're really closer as co-parents than we've ever been before. I really appreciate that. But as we get into the next relationship, we learn some new lessons. So after the end of the marriage, here you are. You're single again, right? And let me tell you, after a long marriage, as sad as it may be for any party involved, whether you were the person that left or whether you were the person that wanted it to work, what is true is it is a bit of a renaissance where you can be yourself again, right? You're no longer partnered with someone. You may have the responsibilities of your kid. You may be overwhelmed. But there's definitely a freedom to recreate yourself. But let me tell you what I was not prepared for, and that is dating after your divorce. Let me just tell you, before my divorce, my dating style was to go out to the bar, meet people, develop relationships over a period of drinking with them over days or weeks or hours, and then you would settle into a relationship or just go out with them again or this or that. But let me tell you, coming off my divorce, suddenly there's the internet. The internet the land of reaching back to people that you may have known from 15 years ago or 10 years ago, or new people that have never heard from you before. And let me tell you, the internet is not a helpful tool for me to date. Right off the bat, I figured out, your suave, seductive talent at picking up women or getting into relationships does not translate from the bar at 11:30 p.m. to the internet. Okay, the same lines, the same moves, the same smooth demeanor does not translate very well to text over the internet. So I remember very specifically one woman. She lives here in town. I won't mention her name out of respect, and I'm very close friends with one of the people in her friend group. This woman has never spoken to me since, but let me tell you, she was about as offended as possible that I had any interest in her over the internet. And her friends reassured me. They're like, "You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't do anything. But you've got to know her. She's not, she's not one to date. She's not, she's not into you or your ways." And it was this real eye opener where I was just like, "Oh, there's this whole similar dynamic. There's not one way to do something. Everyone's unique online. How everyone handles interacting online is different." And in truth, those of us that are of a certain age have never really gotten used to it, right? We still prefer the other way. Although, if, like me, you've stopped drinking, and I don't go to work, right? And I, don't go to church on a regular basis. It's like, where do you meet people? Well, it has to be the Zuckerberg Thunderdome, the land of dating online. So this poor woman, who to this day doesn't speak to me, that I've never reconciled with, I think about her before I ever send a message or receive or reply to a message on the internet. I think, you know what? Am I sure this is exactly how I should approach this? So it was a learning curve. And in truth, it was a tough run. It was a tough run. I think finding your footing after a long marriage should take a while. If it happens quick, if you drop into a relationship after you've been in a relationship with someone, say for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, if somehow you find yourself in a relationship in a matter of weeks, that you want to talk about red flags. This made-up word, red flags. That's trouble. That's trouble. It's really a sign that you're trying to fill a void or a hole, or you're somebody who just is codependent, or you can't live alone, or you need some sort of bizarre reassurance, or you don't like to be around yourself. Whatever it is, it's really, really not a bad sign. Now, in many cases, there may be some infidelity involved, and you've been seeing that person. That's, of course, an exception, but I've never really been in that situation in any of the relationships I've been in. Infidelity has not been the reason for the end of any of them. And part of that is I really put near the top of my list loyalty and commitment, and in truth, fulfilling the wants, needs, desires, and providing everything that I can for my significant other. Those if you keep all those I's dotted and T's crossed, you genuinely don't have that problem. Which brings me into what wisdom I can impart on you from my last relationship. And those of you that follow the podcast know that the Harry Potter villain, played by Ralph Fiennes, the brilliant Ralph Fiennes, maybe not his best role, maybe Red Dragon was his best role, but Red Dragon's too cool a name. Voldemort is who we'll go with. And Voldemort and I had met years ago. We had established some sort of rapport and relationship years before. I knew what I was getting into, but I had gone several years without a serious girlfriend, and I thought, you know what, this woman, she likes gardening, she likes goats, I like the same thing, maybe we should see how it goes. And over the period of the next 2 or 3 months, we saw each other, dated very cautiously. and ended up in a relationship. Now, let me tell you, I am a somewhat of an anti-believer in the red flag theory, right? Oh, you should have seen these red flags. This woman has plenty of red flags. I knew about all of them. If you want to get into some sort of like status quo, common nomenclature, she had deep unresolved trauma from her childhood. She had never been to therapy. Didn't have the medical insurance to have any sort of medication she should be on. When I first started dating her, she didn't sleep at night. She was an anxious, nervous train wreck and was nearing financial disaster. And I didn't mind any of that because I knew what she really needed was some stability in her life, someone that was caring and concerned for her, and that could guide her along everything she needed to do to get herself straight financially and all those sort of things. So none of those things really bothered me. I didn't see them as red flags. I saw them as opportunities to help her out, and I love helping people. So it was perfect for me, right? And in return, being the dumb animal, all I wanted was love, and she could provide that. This woman ended up really loving me more than anybody has in my entire life to date. I've never had that experience, and maybe that's why it was difficult to let her go, right? So anyways, we start dating, and I really don't know what I'm doing, and the first thing that pops into my head a few months into us dating is, oh no, I cannot get married again. I cannot get married. My last marriage about destroyed me financially, emotionally. I just can't do that. I can't do it again. Maybe I can just date this woman and we can end up in a long, committed relationship with no sort of commitment. And that is the mistake I made. It's not red flags. It's not I'm some awful narcissist or some sort of ninja narcissist. The real mistake was I didn't truly commit to what we were doing, right? This is a woman that I should have married a year into us being together. This is a woman that I should have taken seriously. And that's kind of a lesson I would give to everybody. Listen, whether it's your first marriage, second marriage, or fifth, the reality is, once you're dating someone and you're going to be in some serious committed relationship and you feel like this person is the one, it is a cop-out to just run through some committed BS because you don't possess the ability to say you want to get married, right? I mean, I get the fears of the financial thing. Do a prenup. I get the fears of heartbreak. Well, I got news for you. You hold up your end of the bargain. You do what you need to do, and it doesn't happen. See, what happened with us was, not only did I not commit to that engagement and marriage, but also a couple of years into our relationship, I fell on hard times. I had as it's well documented, a partner betray me. I had the health problems with my cancer coming on. I had all these things. And it weighed on our relationship. And in truth, I was very communicative when that happened. When it was happening, I looked and said, listen, I adore you, I love you, but I'm aware this is wearing on our relationship. Trust me, in a few months, we're going to be past this. We're going to be fine. We're going to be solved, and everything will be good. And, ultimately, that reassurance was just not enough. It was just not enough. And I will say, in the case of that relationship and my marriage, and probably every breakup on the planet, there's always someone who's a sounding board. Whether you're in the small 10% of men that leave a marriage, or you're in the large percentage of 90% of women who end a marriage, what I would say is there's a point in time where that person, male or female, looks at their friend, their family member, and says, you know what, I don't think this is working out. And when it's going to not work out is when the other person looks back and says, I think you're right. You should probably just leave them. And that is a absolute 100% ingredient in every breakup on the planet. It's that person. And here's the irony. Those people are genuinely the most unqualified people. They're generally like disastrous relationships, or they're already single, or they're already divorced. They're the last person you should ever ask. So that is a piece of advice I will genuinely give anybody. If you are unsure about your relationship and thinking about getting out of it or don't know what to do, and you want to find a sounding board, find someone who's in a healthy, secure marriage and or relationship, and ask them what you should do, right? That's someone who maybe you should, listen to some advice from. But in my experience, no one's really looking for advice. They just want an okay man. They just want someone to go, yes, you do it, right? Because we all want reassurance in life. So, of course, that relationship ends. She leaves, and the rest is history. You guys know the podcast. You guys have listened to the pre-episodes. You know the other episodes. But as love and relationship continues, what we're all looking for is love. What we're all looking for is something that is healthy for us, that makes us feel good, that's comforting, that's providing, that's protective, that's safe, that's loyal, all those kind of things. And anytime a relationship doesn't end, it's always a two-way street. There's just things that neither party did. I'm always taken back at how I had an amazing birthday celebration with all this thought and concern with my last girlfriend and a million I love yous. And 5 days later, she walks away forever. And that's a fascinating element to me. But as a man, I can also relate to how you've got to hold up your end of the bargain. You can't be chipping away at the expectations that a woman has for you, right? You do not need to get into a relationship unless you are able to hold up her end of things. Because, guys, it's not going to change. Women don't love unconditionally. There are conditions. There are things they expect of you. And they have looked around, they've shopped around, and they've decided to give in their heart, their time, their emotions, their affections, their love to the man who can provide those things for her. And once you stop doing those things, whether they're slowly or one at a time, you begin to chip it away at the relationship they have with you. So when you wake up in the morning, you need to think about what you can do to make sure you're fulfilling all of those things, crossing all those T's, dotting all the I's. And if you're a woman, what you need to understand is the easiest way to get a man to do that is just to love him, be his cheerleader, and be there for him, right? Because he's going to love you unconditionally, right? The last thing you need to do is run out of coconuts, okay? You keep plenty of coconuts on the top of that palm tree and make him climb it every day, and your relationship's just going to be fine with him, right? He's going to keep holding up his end of the bargain. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this short love and relationship special. Lots of things inspired it leading into today. I love you all. Thanks for listening. There'll be our regular podcast this Sunday, but this one will drop here on Thursday, the something of January. And I hope you guys enjoy. Be sure and check out the merch on my TikTok and Instagram at rockyperry.art. Those things help support me, help me provide for my children as I battle cancer for the next few years. And thank you for listening. I'll see you next time in the Pink Room.